All right. Hey guys, this is Miss Gonzalez, and today we're going to learn about point of view. Okay, so we wanted to include this for you because these are some words that you might see in a multiple choice question. If you have a question about point of view, you will see words such as analyze, conflict, author's purpose, narration or narrator, compare and contrast, explain, describe, first-hand or second-hand accounts, and also first, second, and third person. Okay, so for first person point of view, this is where somebody is narrating the story or they are the narrator and they tell his or her point of view. And so when you're reading something and it says I or me or we or our, that's going to be first person point of view. Like I went to the grocery store to get my family some food, right? Okay. So here's an example. I have never been so angry in my life. My brother strolled through the living room in tall white socks with two bright green stripes at the top. Mason, I exclaimed, take those off. Those are my lucky socks, and I have a game in just a few hours. If you didn't take off those socks in a hurry, we were going to have a very big problem. So there, in this sentence, I have never been so angry in my life, helps the reader understand what point of view it's in. It's first person because the narrator telling the story is mad that the brother has on their socks. And it's from their point of view, not the brother's, but the one who's wanting the socks back. So that's first person point of view. Okay, the next one is second person point of view. This is the one that's a little tricky and that we don't see very often, but second person point of view places the reader in the story. You are talking directly to somebody. So when the narrator is writing, they use the pronouns you and your. And I have just a few examples on the next slide of this. I didn't find a text like I did the last one, but I have a few sentences. And then you should visit the Grand Canyon. Okay, I'm commanding you, or I'm giving you commands to do something. I'm telling you to do something. You should. Okay. The next one would be make sure to grab your backpack on the way to the bus. These second person point of view uses you and your pronouns. So you are giving commands, or the narrator, the person writing the story is giving commands to someone else. Okay, third person point of view, it's told by a narrator and not somebody in the story. Okay, so the pronouns for third person would be he, she, they. Okay, him, her, his. The person telling the story is not in the story whatsoever. Okay, so with third person point of view, I'm going to go to the next slide and give you an example. Charlie woke up and hit his alarms with his eyes still closed. He rolled out of bed and fell with a huge thud on the floor. The fall jolted Charlie awake, and he looked around the room to find his bed and all of his things were on the ceiling. His bed was upside down. Charlie climbed up to the door and opened it. He walked outside on the ceiling to find all of his family members looking equally confused. Their whole world has just turned upside down, literally. Okay, so the narrator of this short text is an outsider looking in. There is not Charlie, and it's not anybody in Charlie's family. It's somebody telling the story over again. So it is third person, okay? Now, in third person, you have third person omniscient and third person limited. And let me tell you what those are in the next one. Third person limited is, like I just told you, they are not in the story whatsoever. They are an outsider telling you the story about somebody else. And so third person limited is they know the thoughts of feelings of not everyone shown, okay? Not everyone shown. My PowerPoint is not correct. It is of not everybody shown, okay? So you only know the thoughts and feelings of about one character, okay? The next one is omniscient. This one is the one where again, my PowerPoint is not correct. It says only one character, but it's supposed to be of all characters. Third person point of view omniscient is where the narrator telling the story is outside of the story and knows the thoughts and feelings of everybody. So in my classroom, I like to give this example. So say that I am the teacher in the front of the room. I have everybody, all of my class outside of the staring at me in the crowd. Okay. Third person limited would be somebody looking in on our classroom, and they would know the thoughts and the feelings about one student. Okay. However, in third person omniscient, the outsider telling the story of my class would know the thoughts and feelings of everybody in the classroom, including me. So third person limited, you only know one character's thoughts and feelings. And in third person omniscient, you know everybody's thoughts and feelings. Okay. That's very, very important to not get confused. Okay. So we talked about the 3 points of view, but I also wanted to discuss first-hand accounts and second-hand accounts. Okay. So it is exactly how it sounds. First-hand account would be you telling somebody a story that you have experienced. Okay. So, for example, on this little anchor chart here, you have an example of an interview. So if I go ask somebody a bunch of questions, they're going to tell me some information, and that's a first-hand account. I'm getting information from one person from a source, okay? You're going to know the author saw or was part of the action. Okay, you're not getting information from somebody that did not happen to them. They were there. The author shares feelings and emotions. And that's exactly like I talked about. They were there. It is something that they have experienced, and it is coming straight from the source. Okay. The next one is a secondhand account. A secondhand account is something that you read from biographies, news articles, history books, and encyclopedias. So, for instance, when you're reading a biography about a famous person, you aren't hearing about their life from the famous person themselves. So somebody took that famous person's life and wrote a story about it, and you are reading from somebody else's thoughts and feelings about that famous person. So a secondhand account is not from the source itself. It's something that somebody else has told you, okay? And then here I have a little anchor chart comparing the two. So multiple accounts of the same event. So say there's a story that happened, you're going to get something firsthand and secondhand. The firsthand is the primary source. The most important, it came straight from the source, the very most important source, okay? It comes straight from who it happened to. And it's first person point of view most of the time. And then the second hand would be somebody that probably wasn't even there, and they're just retelling the story to you. Okay. So that's a really good anchor chart here for you to refer back to if you need to. Now, I have some more examples at the end of this PowerPoint that I want to discuss because as you are 5th and 6th graders, they are not or when you have a text with some questions, they are not simply going to ask you, hey, what point of view is this written? It's going to be, how does the point of view affect the character's thoughts and feelings? How does the point of view affect how the author describes a certain event that happened? It's not going to be simply what point of view is it in, first, second, or third. Okay? You're going to have to really know how to determine if it's first, second, or third, but you're going to have to analyze and dig a little deeper. So let's look at this question. It says, how is the narrator's point of view different from Lucy's point of view? Okay, so now you have to figure out who the narrator is, their point of view, and then compare it to Lucy's here. So let's read it. No, it's not, I screamed Lucy at my best friend. Yes, it is, said Lucy. Lucy said the friendship bracelet hanging from her left wrist was hers, but it wasn't. I knew it wasn't because I had seen an identical bracelet sitting inside her jewelry box before we left the house this morning. I know Lucy truly believes this was her bracelet. So there was only one way to prove it. Lucy, let's go back to your house and I'll show you that bracelet is sitting right there in your jewelry box, I shouted. Lucy nodded and we headed back to her house to prove that I was right. Okay, so how does the narrator's point of view different from Lucy's point of view? The narrator thinks that the bracelet belongs to her mom. B, Lucy thinks the narrator lost the bracelet. C, Lucy thinks the bracelet belongs to the narrator. Or D, the narrator thinks the bracelet belongs to her. Okay, so you can easily determine that. That's easy, that it is D. The narrator thinks that the bracelet belongs to her. She thinks that Lucy has her bracelet and that Lucy's is at home. Okay. And then we have one more that I want to practice, or I want you to practice on your own. Okay. So pause the video and I want you to read this. And I want you to see how this question is asked. It's going to say, what does the sentence, my birthday party was supposed to be special, tell the reader about whose point of view the story is told from? So you need to take that statement from the story and tell the reader, or how does that tell you, the reader, what point of view it's told from? So go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to go ahead and answer this question on your own, okay? Now, this is just a short little mini lesson on point of view. As we read more complex texts this year, and as you begin to read texts and stories on your own, you need to think about these things, and you need to think about how when the author wrote the point of view, that there was a certain message he or she was trying to get across to you. You're going to have to analyze the point of view and not only discuss whether it's first, second, or third, okay? Now, if you have any questions about this topic, please be sure to reach out to your ELA teacher. You can find my email if you need to answer or ask me any questions that you need to have answered. And I hope y'all have a fabulous day.